specific reasons
Therefore, the government of Georgia stands for better coordination and all other standards for protection of human rights. In the summer of 2016, the Parliament of Georgia adopted a law. Dear Chairman, dear colleagues, Excellencies, we are gathered to discuss one of the most important aspects of contemporary international politics and legal architecture of the world, which is migration and refugee issues. It is of paramount importance to achieve and maintain a coordinated approach toward these issues at a global scale, because ultimately it is the humanitarian side of politics that determines the shape and the sense of the condition and future of humanity as we know it. Therefore, the government of Georgia stands for better coordination at all levels to improve the degree of national coherence, quality of regional cooperation, and dynamics of global action in order to achieve more tangible goals in ameliorating the lives of hundreds of thousands, millions of migrants and refugees around the world. I would like to explicate the national strategy of Georgia in this regard, as well as Georgia's vision for a better management of the issues of migration and refugees. It is all too well known for us what impact the flow of refugees and internally displaced persons can exert not only on national but also on regional stability and security. For over 25 years, Georgia has been tackling the overwhelming problem of accommodating over 280,000 internally displaced persons who fled the conflict-ravaged parts of Georgia, Abkhazia and Ცხინვალის region, also called South Ossetia. The first waves of Georgians and citizens of other ethnicities were expelled en masse in the result of ethnic cleansing after the Georgian government lost control of these territories in the early 1990s. These territories were illegally and forcefully occupied by the Russian Federation after the military aggression against sovereign Georgia in August 2008, increasing the numbers of internally displaced persons and refugees, and at the same time further aggravating the humanitarian human rights situation inside the occupied territories. Currently, Russia occupies up to 20% of Georgia's territory, illegally stations armed forces in the occupied territories, maintains the occupational regimes in both Abkhazia and Ცხინვალის region, and through these occupational regimes commits numerous grave violations of human rights, such as abduction and torture of peaceful citizens, most recently that of Mr. Archil Tatunashvili, who was murdered with torture in detention in the town of Ცხინვალის, restriction of freedom of movement of local population in internally displaced persons from these regions, and deprivation of children to study in their native Georgian language. Moreover, Russian armed forces pursue the policy of so-called borderization, installing barbed wire fences that not only restrict the freedom of movement, but also cause distressing and illegitimate separation of communities, and in some instances even families. In other words, both IDPs and the population that stayed in the occupied territories face serious challenges for survival and basic welfare. This situation creates insurmountable impediments for the return of IDPs and refugees to their homes, posing an imminent threat of the new wave of forced displacement. All this is happening despite numerous resolutions of the UN General Assembly reaffirming the rights of IDPs and refugees to return to home in safety and with dignity, reconfirming their property rights and unacceptability of forced demographic changes. Ladies and gentlemen, year 2018 marks the 20th anniversary of the adoption of the UN Guiding Principles on Internal Displacement. This fact should serve as yet another wake-up call for all states to take the scale and complexity of the problem as a shared responsibility. Georgia certainly does so. Acknowledgement of universal standards of human rights and also numerous grave problems led the Georgian authorities toward the creation of effective mechanisms for dealing with the acute and urgent issues associated with IDPs and refugees, but also with international migrants. The role of the Parliament has been and remains crucial in the process. Through the legislative process, Georgian Parliament created a body of laws that establishes clear guidance for the executive for exercising adequate standards for protection of human rights, social safety, and health care of migrants and refugees. In particular, in December 2016, the Parliament of Georgia adopted a law on international protection, which, in accordance to Geneva Convention and EU legislation, regulates all the important aspects of entry, stay, and standards of treatment for aliens and stateless persons. According to this law and subsequent bylaws, the authority responsible for the asylum procedure is the Ministry of Internally Displaced Persons from the occupied territories, accommodation, and the refugees of Georgia. Despite daunting presence of hundreds of thousands of IDPs and refugees, Georgia admits thousands of international migrants, 1,449 asylum seekers in 2015, 947 in 2016, and 951 in 2017. Nowadays, there are 1,477 international protection holders in Georgia, among them 450 are refugees and 1,027 are humanitarian status holders. Thus, after 2 decades when Georgia was mostly a country of origin for international migration, now Georgia is also a destination country. We understand and acknowledge that the challenges faced by both groups of states as a consequence of and response to these awareness, Georgia has taken a number of important steps to support the integration of refugees and asylum seekers. Fulfillment of institutional, normative, and practical guidelines by Georgia received high assessment from the European Union, facilitating the visa-free travel regime between Georgia and the EU. For coordinating the national policies relating with migration and refugees at all levels, national, regional, and global, the Georgian government created a modern, strong, comprehensive, flexible, and effective mechanism capable to run the simultaneous, interlinked, and coordinated action of all relevant actors. This is a commission-type agency entrusted to be the main body responsible for the elaboration, planning, coordination, and implementation of migration policy. Thus, the State Commission on Migration Issues coordinates between 12 agencies and is well equipped to deal and help with the contemporary challenges of global and national scale. Thank you so much.